Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial for my loud and victorious setting of the hymn All Hail the Power of Jesus' Name. In this tutorial I'm going to go over any potential trouble spots and give you some insight into my thinking as the arranger. Overall, I wanted to take this very powerful and celebratory hymn and put it in a very powerful and celebratory setting. And that's kind of the conventional way to do this hymn, but what I wanted to do in differentiating my arrangement from others is make something for intermediate level pianists that doesn't sound intermediate. I wanted to give kind of intermediate level pianists something that they could show off with. Not that you would want to draw attention to yourself, but you might be looking for something that really gives the feeling of power and celebration and victory and all of that, say for an Easter service or just a praise service of any kind. So I wanted to give you something in your toolbox that you could do that with. The way I accomplished it was by using big, powerful chords, but splitting them into two hands so that you're not, feeling like you've got to spread way out and stretch your fingers and do a bunch of bouncing around. And then I also gave you a really active left-hand accompaniment, especially in verse 1, that sounds fancy because it moves so much. But it's really easy to play, and it's very repetitious, and so once you get the first measure, you've really got the rest of the measures. I didn't put anything super flowery in there, so it's very straightforward. In fact, this tutorial I think is going to be that, very straightforward. I don't have any fingering in here because I really tried to make it intuitive. And so even if you're not maybe an intermediate pianist, or you're an early intermediate or something like that, which I will say, in aiming for a solidly middle ground intermediate arrangement, it probably landed a little bit more on the late intermediate side. But even if you're an early or a mid intermediate pianist, I would hope anyway that the things that would be challenging for you in this are very easy to learn, and you would be able to quickly get them into your fingers. And even little things like just slowing the tempo down would really make this a lot more accessible to many different levels of pianists. So anyway, those are the things I aimed for in the arrangement. So I'm just going to go through it, point out some interpretive elements, some of the harder spots, and what you might do to overcome them. So right at the beginning, the most difficult thing, in my opinion, are the radical changes in dynamics and tempo. Your first system here is just all forte, and then immediately drops to piano, rises back to forte, and drops immediately to piano again. And then you have a speeding up and a slowing down here. Just that agility that's required from a pianist to do that is a challenge. And my suggestion, if you're not able to do that right out of the gate, is just take each section change, dynamic or tempo change spots, and just pause as you're practicing. Just pause and change your mindset before continuing on. So here's what I mean. If I start at measure 2, I might go and pause, get my mind into a piano dynamic, like that, and then each time I practice it, that gap gets a little bit shorter. You have a little bit more of that kind of schizophrenic dynamic changes and tempo changes here at measure 22, going into the second verse. When you're in that second verse, at measure 33, you have this walk down in your left hand. I'll just draw your attention to it. It should be very intuitive. You're playing octaves in your left hand. Then you get to this. I didn't even put fingering there because it should just be natural. You're just walking down from that G. Your fingers are already in position. So don't make it harder than it needs to be. It should just fall naturally into where your hand is already at. Same thing with this little movement here at measure 35. It's going to come up again later, but while I'm on this page, I'll just bring up this spot here at measure 44 in your left hand. It's kind of a change. Your left hand has either been playing octaves, half note chords, or this rhythm. And here you get like this change, but it's really not as difficult as it might seem at first appearance. If you have the rhythm dum da da dum da da dum like that, there's just one note change at each little spurt of notes here. It's just a fifth, an F and a C, and then you add a D. Then it's the same thing as before, but then the F moves up to a G. Excuse me. So, this is something I tell my daughter, who's 10 years old and taking piano lessons. Music, especially in this genre of music, when you see something that looks foreign to you and it looks difficult, it rarely is as difficult as it looks. So just stop, take a break, look at it rationally, see what the notes are, how the notes are changing, and you'll probably realize that there's just subtle movements, and it doesn't need to be any more difficult than you think it might be. Like that. It's just that simple. Okay, moving on. Yeah, so the last verse, it does get a little difficult because you've got these big chords that span an octave in your right hand. Your left hand's pretty straightforward, but then it does turn into octaves halfway through. And what that presents for the pianist is no longer, you're going to find, how do I word it? You're no longer able to rely on relativity to find notes. Like, what I mean by that is, if all the notes say we're in a 5-finger pattern here, you'd be able to find an F because your thumb is sitting on a G, and you just look for the note that's next to it. But when you're moving around in octaves like this, you're landing on notes. Each consecutive note doesn't have an anchor point in your fingers to the note before it, because each movement is like you're kind of bouncing through thin air to get to the next note. Hope that makes sense. It's happening in both hands, and so that can present a special kind of challenge. And my encouragement is to slow it down. Like, it's the last verse. It's a fortissimo dynamic. You could just go. You could actually perform it at a much slower tempo that feels comfortable to you. Yeah. So that's kind of like a cheat code, if you will. If you want to play it at speed and you're having trouble with the octaves, the best thing I know to do is to just practice it slowly and use a metronome, pick a slow tempo that you can play it at without any mistakes, and just gradually, incrementally increase that tempo. And then if you have leaps, obviously steps, if you're doing this, I could do this blindfolded any day of the week and not have any issue. But if I have to start, making leaps of a fifth or a third or a sixth or something like that, then you start getting sloppy. You start missing those notes. And so at those spots where you do have a little bit of jumping around, like, for example, that last page, you're not jumping around with octaves, but you are playing this like that. There's a little bit of a leaping around there. I find it's helpful to just rock back and forth between those intervals. Keep your hand close to the keyboard. Don't do this. That's just, it looks flashy, but it's a dumb idea. Don't do it. Keep your fingers close to the keys. Practice doing that, looking at it, and then practice looking away. See, I already messed up. Start slow, speed up, those sorts of things. All right, I hope that was helpful. That's kind of everything that I thought might be helpful to go over. I hope you enjoy this arrangement. I hope that those who hear you play it enjoy it. I really wanted it to be a kind of a doorbuster arrangement, one that really fills people with joy and just a sense of of God's power. And so I hope it does that. And if you use it for a special occasion to accomplish that, I hope that you'll tell me about it. I love to get videos and testimonials of how it went. So I hope that it is a blessing to you. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.